Thank you. This is working. Oh, we could. Do we have a flag? We have a flag over there. Would you guys like to say the Pledge of Allegiance? So right over there, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for all. All right, I love it. The energy. All right. Well, good afternoon. I am Mandy, and I'm the director of the Ripon Chamber of Commerce, and I'm thrilled to stand before all of you here today to offer a few words in honor of the 170th anniversary of the founding of the Republican Party. That event took place right here, and it is Ripon's unique connection to the development of the nation. Of all the questions that I receive about my work here at the Chamber, and I get a lot of questions about this place. The Chamber has been operating tours here since the 1930s, and for 30 plus years, when it was in need of a new owner, the Chamber stepped up as a way to protect, preserve, and promote this very special place and this very special history. I like to say that my relationship with the Little White Schoolhouse is a lot like the Antique Roadshow. To be honest, it took many years after moving to Ripon for me to ever pass through these doors, and I'm pleased to say that I did meet someone who is here today for the very first time. And I remember walking in and thinking, oh, this is the schoolhouse. Cool. And I'm sure that's how a lot of guests feel when the first time they come across like a box in the attic or a family heirloom. It looks kind of cool, but they aren't really sure what to think of it. They may even pack it up and tuck it back away. And so I actually took a look at the show, and I looked at some of the highlights, and I found a lot of amazing instances. There was this man who bought a watch that was $300, and then all of a sudden it was like $500,000 to $700,000. There were a few objects made of jade that could fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then there were these baseball cards that turned out to be like the first ever baseball cards, and they were worth $1 million. And that is what my experience has been with this building and this history that took place here. When you first walk in, it's pretty simple. It's plain, it's functional, nothing extraordinary about it. But in order to really set the scene, try to imagine with me that this is Ripon's brand new state-of-the-art schoolhouse. The architecture is modeled after the Greek revival. The Ripon citizens felt deep pride about being a republic, about being independent from the monarchy. Imagine this as like a mini Parthenon. It was built with such intention and meaning. This one-room schoolhouse was a place of public education. If you don't know, Wisconsin is the first state in the Midwest that had public education, and the first kindergarten that ever happened in nearby Watertown. I'm pleased to say that today we have someone who even has a list of many of the teachers that taught here, and they're related to them, turns out. So this school was a community center. It's where meetings happened, events, entertainment. But Ripon, which had been chartered in 1849, by 1854 only had 200 residents. Ripon was a Midwest frontier town, and it was experiencing a lot of rapid growth, and it had a really great future. It had built a hotel, a grist mill, a school, and a college. And so Ripon was this vibrant community brimming with opportunity, and if you haven't heard or met me, that's how I describe Ripon today. But yet Ripon was small. It was actually, some thought, pretty inconsequential compared to other cities or even just the county at large. But the more I learn, the more I see and feel how special and significant this place is, and the moment in history is for all of us here today, but also for all of those who will someday walk through that door. The truth is, some see museums as a place where old stuff goes to retire. It's a stop along the way to the water park, or it's just a long forgotten field trip once ago. But we need museums now more than ever. We need places that have the power to reflect and shape society. We need places that allow us to learn from our past and guide us into the future. What better place to learn how to come together, find common ground, build bridges than the Little White Schoolhouse? Here, a group of men gathered from all different political beliefs. They listened, they argued late into the night, and it was a winter night in Wisconsin, but they eventually found a way to come together and to respond to the pressing issues of the day. What a great place to gain perspective. We also need a place that brings our community together, like today. Just as this schoolhouse was once used as a gathering space, we look forward to providing events, workshops, and leadership development. We need a place that stands firm in the face of adversity, in times of tension. We believe this museum can be an anchor in the storm, whether it's wars being waged, political upheaval, controversy, economic recessions. The Little White Schoolhouse has stayed the course unscathed. The values of res publica, or the common good, the belief that all of us are created equal. A government, a democracy by the people, for the people, remains just as valuable in 2024 as those words were said in 1863. Museums are also a place of innovation. It may not look like it now, but just wait. With new technologies, museums are more interactive and engaging than ever. And so the opportunities for this place to evolve are endless. And we look forward to finding ways to tell the same amazing stories, but in ways that are engaging and ready for the next generation, and helping the next generation want to be here. So speaking of young people, we need a place that will educate and inspire the future generations. By showcasing stories of exemplary courage and leadership like those who gathered here, we are reminded to dream big, serve our community, and come together to change the world. The reality is this is just a chapter in the long story of this special place. And there have been so many that have come before us, and it's because of them that we are able to stand here. Like Samuel Pedrick, he took the lead in preserving the Little White Schoolhouse. It had fallen into disrepair as a private residence. You can actually see a picture of that right behind you. So it had fallen apart, and he's the reason we actually have an amazing archive in our historical society. Pedrick felt, just like we do today, that the Little White Schoolhouse was essential in understanding and appreciating Ripon's special heritage and character. He led the efforts to raise funds needed to acquire and restore the schoolhouse. One of my favorite stories is that he organized a baseball game, brought the community together, and there was one team that were the Republicans and one team that were the Democrats. And I don't know if it was planned, but they ended in a tie. There has been so much community support over the lifetime of the schoolhouse, as this is part of our nation's history, but this is also part of Ripon's history. Presently, today, we have had so much support. We've received help from our community, whether it's monetary donations and just even help with the labor, the paint, the construction. We've had the great fortune to have Steve Arbaugh serve as our part-time museum director, and during his time, he's consulted for us on the foundational aspects, things that I'm not a fan of, like policies, procedures, operations, and he's just done an amazing job. We feel so thankful and honored to have had him on this project, and even as he transitions out of this role, we're super glad that he's still available to us at the Historical Society, which is the longest running in the state of Wisconsin, by the way. And then the future. As we look to the future, I see you. I see Ripon as a community re-engaging with the Little White Schoolhouse, taking it out of the attic and giving it a second glance, and truly taking a moment to learn about all of the courageous leaders that have come out of Ripon and will come out of Ripon. I see a dynamic museum that will be rooted in the past, but always looking to the future to ensure that many, many more will come and experience history that inspires. And so as I wind down my remarks, I'd like to end by sharing what I think it truly means to be the birthplace of the Republican Party. This statement has and will continue to cause many types of reactions as we face our present-day realities alongside our incredible history. And I've had the opportunity to dig into the archives and even speak with some of the descendants that are here today. So what does it truly mean? It means being a city that has something to be so proud of. A city where history happened that changed the nation as we know it. It means being both either visionary or pragmatic, like the original pioneers of Ripon. They were both dreamers and entrepreneurs, and they all knew how to work really hard. It means being active citizens, participating and contributing to the community that they were part of. When we look at the roster of names of those who were there, we have people like Alvin Beauvais. He was an attorney. Jediah Bowen, a banker and merchant known as a substantial citizen. Not sure what that means. What does it take to be substantial? He was a big part of the church. Amos Loper, who was both a farmer, a lawyer, and the justice of peace. His son, Alonzo Loper, who was only 24 years old when he was here at this meeting, later went to represent the city in the legislature for several terms and then got involved in the insurance industry. We have William Dunham, who was a farmer with his brother David that was also at the meeting, and the farmland was actually where the building stands today, so we think that's really cool. Jacob Woodruff was a city treasurer, assessor, and for 6 years a member of the school board. Abram Thomas, he raised sheep. Hiram Town had quite the resume. He began as a clerk and then eventually owned the store. He entered the Civil War. And then when he came back, he took up business, but also public office. And so somehow he served as sheriff, state senator, mayor, clerk of the Ceresco School Board, and local postmaster. Robert Mason held both offices in the town and the city. O.H. McCulley, a contractor and builder by trade, he actually helped build the first congregational church where that first meeting happened. Then he left Ripon and he went on to bring a volunteer group for the Civil War, holding the rank of captain. And there's just one in particular that I really focused in on, Amos Loper, because we have so many of his descendants visiting today. And we'll actually get to hear from them in just a moment. But Amos was 60 years old at the time of the meeting, and he lived to be 68. He came from New York as a lawyer to be part of the Ceresco commune. Amos and Carolyn had at least 8 children. Some of this you guys might have to correct me because I'm not the expert you are. He then learned to be a farmer. He was associated with the Little Schoolhouse, which we still have pictures and many of you remember. And he was also known as a man of quiet mark and sturdy character. What a great thing to be known for. Deeply involved in public affairs, Mr. Loper also served as justice of the peace. He was held to be an authority in all matters pertaining to politics and the law, and then he was one of 5 members elected to serve as the committee to the newly formed Republican Party. I found some of Alvin Beauvais, his recollections, to be so interesting. And really, Alvin Beauvais, because he wrote things down after the meeting, he's one of the reasons we know a lot more about what happened here. And so he was the attorney. He was one of the founders of Ripon College, and he was also known for being rabidly against slavery. And I just noticed that word, rabidly. You may know the famous quote that Beauvais said, "We went into the little meeting held in a schoolhouse, Whigs, Free Soilers, and Democrats. We came out of it Republicans, and we were the first Republicans in the Union." Of this meeting, Beauvais said, "This thing was not on accident, a happy hit or a lucky spurt. It had been mapped out in my mind long before, at least 2 years, and I was waiting with much impatience for the fruit to ripen." And then he said, "I know the time has come. Slavery will make some demand of the party, which the party cannot stand. At last, the long-looked-for event came. The Missouri Compromise was no more. The hour had struck. The Whig Party had been failing, the Kansas-Nebraska Act had passed, and with the fugitive slave law forcing events like Joshua Glover, an escaped slave from Missouri who had been caught, beaten, arrested, but then broken out of jail in Milwaukee. It's a really cool story, so make sure you check out the documentary coming and learn more about it. But the time had really come. Jediah Bowen, one of the other men present, shared what then came to pass. And I love what Jediah says. He says, "I hesitated. My faith was not strong that we could accomplish the object. We were in a small rural village, remote even from the county seat, and upon no great line of travel. Could we make ourselves heard by the public at large?" To this, Mr. Beauvais replied that there could be no question about it. So then they went to the home of Amos Loper, 3 miles outside the village. I can just imagine them getting on their horse and showing up after supper, knocking on the door. "Oh, Amos, Amos." They were there to ask him to join them. And with all the events that had occurred, they were saying, "Repeal, stand against the federal government." Here in Ripon, not everyone was against slavery. Beauvais and Bowen were like Amos. They owned businesses, they served as lawyers and justice of the peace. They had a lot of influence. They were asking him to sign their names to this new party, which then aligned themselves and their businesses and their families with a new anti-slavery grassroots movement. So when they showed up at Amos's door, what happened? Did he hide? Was he like, nobody home? Did he hesitate? Maybe he took some convincing. It is said that he didn't take long for Loper to make up his mind. And that is not at all how I think I would have responded. And so that leaves me with my final point. Being the birthplace of the Republican Party means that we are part of a community that historically has been very brave and willing to stand up for what they believe in, despite the risk. We have such a legacy of courage here. And the impact of the actions of those men gathered 170 years ago continues today. It was amazing to hear the sense of pride that the Amos Loper descendants feel about this being part of their family history. As I spoke with one family member, she explained what it was like to take her 9-year-old granddaughter through the schoolhouse. And the moment her granddaughter really began to understand the significance that her family helped change history. When asked about what it means to have this as part of their family story, she shared, this really reminds us that we really do need to stand up for what we believe in, and we really can change the world. And I'm pleased to share today that we are joined by the youngest descendant of the Lopers, Charlotte, who is just 11 months old. Welcome, Charlotte. And so, let's clap for Charlotte. She's so cute. When I asked another family member the question, what do you hope that all of the people who will gather for this celebration will take away from it? And she said, I think just to understand that your legacy can start at any time. Whatever your views are, your legacy to do good can start tomorrow and affect change 170 years later, to have the courage to stand up for what you believe in. And so at this point, I'd like to invite David Redeman, a family member here with us today, to speak on behalf of the family, and then I'll return to close us out. Come on up, David.
She asked me to talk a little bit, and before I do that, I just want to say the different generations that are here from the Amos Loper's family. And so fifth generation, I'm fifth generation, as well as these ones I'm going to name. Peggy, will you raise your hand? Peggy is fifth generation Amos. Patty, Hootsie or Hoositary. She has it right. And she's fifth generation. John Split, who's done a lot of work in here, one of the best carpenters in the area, and he's part of on the board here. So John Split, he's fifth generation. His sister, he's also brother of Peggy, and his other sister, Sue Malachic, is here. She's fifth generation. And then Judy Redeman, she married into the family. She's fifth generation. And then we get into the sixth generation, the next step down, which is Megan Urban. You raise your hand. She's my Aunt Terry's daughter. No, my Aunt Terry's granddaughter. And then, so also is Nicole in the back with Charlotte. That's my daughter. She's sixth generation. And then Robbie, he's sixth generation as well. And then we get into seven. We have Max and Axel. Raise your hands. There you go. You playing this game. Megan's two, and then you met Charlotte, who's the youngest Loper who I think we have now, which hopefully will change soon. There'll be some additionals down the path. My Uncle Jim, this is from my Uncle Jim, which is my father's brother, and he was fourth generation. My father was David Redeman. They were all raised here in Ripon, and Jim Redeman was his younger brother. He did our history, and I'll be honest, I didn't grow up here. I didn't know it, but Sue, Peggy, and John's mom was kind of like, she almost was like a Rain Man. When our family history. She would literally say, "You see that girl over there?" And I'm like, "Where?" "That one. She's your grandfather's sister's daughter's daughter." And I'm like, "How do you know this?" And she just knew everything. And she was kind of our real life historian. Jim did all the historical, which was done phenomenally. And I was just looking through it last night. This is just some of the things. Amos Loper didn't just start out being important. His family was important all the way back to the early 1600s. And he was a fourth-generation lawyer out of Long Island, New York. His ancestors, one of them owned Gardner Island, which is a massive island off the end of Long Island, New York. And he was one of the most influential and wealthy people in the New World in 1605. And Captain Kidd, the pirate, buried his treasure on Gardner Island. And Lionel Gardner was told by the British government that if he didn't reveal where that was, that he would be charged, and his memory got fantastic. He was able to point out, they still feel that it was only a small portion. There's a whole documentary on Lionel Gardner and that island. And he was just one of our very influential ancestors that created Amos Loper. Edward Howell was another famous person. And they were involved in, I looked at Jim's facts. He has the records of Lopers being in the Civil War, War of 1812, or excuse me, the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War. All of our family has been in America, which I honestly did not know. I was not raised here, so I didn't know our history. But I am very proud of, and I'm sure my cousins and their kids are very proud of where we started and how we got to here. It wasn't an accident that Amos joined on with the initial philosophy. And I was asked what was something I'm proud of, and I think Amos would be really proud. I have a picture of, I found looking for things for Mandy. I sent her, 50 emails, 50 pictures. And my daughter, when she was 10, was sitting in one of these chairs, and my son was, he was 10, and he's there, and my nephew was here. And I don't think Amos knew how impactful it was really going to affect his true bloodline, because I have 6 nieces and nephews that are African American. And he didn't just do it because it was the right thing to do. I mean, he did, I think, but he didn't know it was going to affect his own blood. And we actually took a picture once out in front of here with all of the descendants, and it's awesome seeing all the color. Not just African American, but Hispanic, and so they truly helped the country. So that's what I'm most proud of, and so thank you. I don't know if I missed anything from my cousins, anything I need to say. But thank you for the time to allow us to talk about it.
Thank you.
He was actually a big deal.
Yeah, he sure was. All right. Thank you so much, David. And we will have a picture of any of the descendants. We have another representative from another person that was at the meeting here today. So please come up afterwards, because we definitely want to capture this special moment. But yeah, I hope you've taken something away from today that feels inspiring and motivating to continue the legacy of what began so long ago. As we look to the future, we are preparing a capital campaign for the next chapter of the Little White Schoolhouse. We have cards on this table that provide you an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter and to make a donation if you feel so moved. We would love to connect with you more as we begin this exciting project to ensure the Little White Schoolhouse for the future generations. I want to take some time to thank those, first off, all of you. Thanks for being here today. Those watching online, I know there will be many that will be excited about this event. I especially want to thank our sponsors, Quick Trip, Culver's, and Webster's. Steve, who I think is in the other building still, but he has done so much hard work to really bring this all together. all of the family members that are here today, thank you. And so I just encourage you to hang out. Brian and I will be in here to tell you many fun facts about this place. Go see what the Legacy Center is going to look like. Make sure to have some cake. But see what we envision for the future. May the rich history that has happened here continue to inspire us all. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
This is the worst. I forgot she's like my closest cousin. This is
Yeah.
Michelle Little. So
Yes.
my Aunt Dory's daughter. I'm so sorry. I
Thanks,
didn't put you
Michelle.
on here because she's like a sister. So
Yeah. No.
I apologize.
Thank you, Michelle, for being here. All right. Well, have a great day,